I want to make a side statement. So I've been talking about Vim. I've talked a little bit about how you have those Vim editing abilities here at the command prompt. I am either next week or the week following, and I'm going to do it at least twice, is I'm going to have a graded assignment, I put assignment in quotes, where I sit down with you and I ask you to do several tasks, and you're going to be doing the kinds of things that I'm doing right here. Okay? So, I've walked around and the most of you are still doing whatever the hell it is you do with your mouse or their arrow keys or whatever. Okay, because I can say whatever I want, but it's like, yeah, go to hell, you can't see me typing. It's going to slow you down initially. Stop using the arrow keys. Use the Vim bindings here. Get accustomed to them, because I'm going to sit down and ask you to do things, and I'm going to watch and see if you can do them. All right, and I'm going to do it twice, so you'll be kind of in the beginning, and if you keep with it, you'll get better. To the extent I've had to do this on several of yours, the bindings don't come on by default. You have to say set -ovi to get the vi bindings at the command line. Okay, so short of typing that in every time you open up a new terminal window, I'd add that to your bash profile or your bash RC, something like that. Then they'll always be there. The arrow keys, I'm using the arrow keys right now. They'll work here. I'm going to ask you to do things using HJK, HJK and L instead of the arrow keys. So start using HJK and L. Start using Vim. It's slow, it's hard, it's painful, but it's the same idea as losing the training wheels on your bike. When you're trying to ride a bike, you could obviously cruise down the street far more quickly in your tricycle than stumbling around when you just took the training wheels off the bicycle. But once you get to riding the bike, then you leave the people with the tricycle behind. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to leave the tricycle riders in the dust. All right. So I'll give you plenty of warning. I will give you an expectation of the commands that I want you to know. Definitely know HJK and L. That's the basic. W to be able to move forward a word. CW to change a word. B to go back. Here, let me actually put that in today's notes since I'm talking about it. Vagrant, week 1, day 4. Vim. What do we call it? Vim test notes.text. Must know when I put you on the spot. Set-o vi to turn on Vim bindings at command prompt. H, J, K, and L. Left, down, up, right. The escape key to get into command mode I'm going to call this the bash prompt. At the bash prompt. Obviously, if you don't hit escape and you type H, J, K, and L, you're just going to get H's, J's, K's, and L's. W, move forward, small, large, word. B, move backward, small, large, word. CW, change word. R, char, replace current character with char. And then the only other one I would say is A, or maybe a append at end of line. That's enough. If you can get these to muscle memory, your ability to navigate and edit commands will speed up dramatically. So these are in today's notes. I'm going to quit out of this. You'll be able to get them with the daily diatribe that's posted. Second, I've said this, I don't know if I've said it in this class, I've certainly said it in another class. When you're watching the screencasts, I talk very, very slowly. I cannot stand listening to myself talking very, very slowly. I would highly recommend that you speed up my screencasts to like 1.5 or something faster than 1. And definitely don't slow it down. Okay? You can always slow it down to normal speed if I hit something that you need to hear more specifically. All right. So let's see, what else? I wanted to, there were a couple, while we're on the topic of the command line, there were things I want you to be aware of. You can type history. Every command, it's got a configurable limit at which point you start to lose, but it's a pretty high limit. If I want to re-execute the command that's shown here as corresponding to line 407, you just type an exclamation point 407. Okay, that number doesn't change, so you do half a dozen other things. If you do exclamation point 407, it'll the numbers don't change; they stay tied to the command. So it makes it real convenient for re-executing those things. Also, you have relative reruns of commands, meaning if I provide a negative sign, so exclamation point, or I should say bang, bang -2 is going to rerun 424. More generally, particularly what's useful is when you get into, like you're doing C++ coding and you get into the edit, compile, test cycle, you'll do something like G++ program.cpp, then you'll run it. I mean, obviously these commands are, and then you'll re-edit it. You'll do some edits, you'll go out, then you need to recompile, rerun. I'm going to do my history. You can do a bang and then one or more characters of a previous command. So if I do bang G, that's going to rerun the most recent command. Starting at the bottom, it's going to go up until it finds a command that starts with the G, and it'll rerun that. Okay. It's possible that you have more than one command that began with a G, and in this case, if I do exclamation point G, it's going to do the grep when I really want it to do the G++. You can get around that by just simply including more than one character to disambiguate it. What I do, unless I have like two panes open, what I do quite frequently is bang G, bang V, bang dot, right? I got the order wrong, but I'm just doing that over and over and over again, and it really speeds things up. All right. I want to talk a little bit about let's see if I have. Yeah, let me go back to these lots of files. What is the asterisk doing? It's not a trick question. Yeah.
It's finding, it's a wild card, so it's finding everything out.
It's a wild card. Where do I find the documentation on that wild card? Which man page?
LS.
Another quick trick. If I'm anywhere in here on this line, and I'm not in insert mode, if I'm anywhere in here, I've hit escape. If I don't want to run this command anywhere on this line, I just hit the pound, or as the new and hip generation calls it, the hashtag. Okay, because the pound is a comment character, and what it does is it immediately prepends that line with a pound symbol, and then that in essence turns that line into a comment. Makes it really nice if you're kind of doing edits and whoops, I don't want to run this quite yet, but you want to come back to it. You just hit pound and you're done. What you end up with is people who are doing this and then they go, oh, I don't want to run this, and then they go, right? Don't do that. Just hit pound and you're done. All right. Trying to help you here. Now I'm getting myself distracted. What am I talking about? Oh, yeah. Man page on LS. Anyone see the asterisk in here? The answer is no, it's not in there. All right. Where is this asterisk documented? Which man page? It's not regex because it's not a regular expression. The asterisk for regular expressions is different than the asterisk here. Let's write a program. All right, you ready? Oh, y'all able to extract this tarball again? Find this lots of. Let me give you a minute. Go ahead and get lots of files extracted somewhere so you can dive in there, and that you have the same set of files that I have. And then I'm going to write a quick program. You can go ahead and parrot it. I'm going to call this cargs, and not to be confused with the pirate version, which is cargs. Args. I'm going to leave it like that because I like my joke. Okay. All right, while you all are doing that, I'm going to do my daily memory exercise. Griff, Kyle, Jeff, I don't remember your name. Alan? Adam? August? Connor? All right, good. September.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that, but I don't. But where is that? It's just in the.
All right, so let me catch up with you. Let me see if I can. Leave that up there. Oops. I'm getting there. Okay, if I type a dot out, if I type a dot out 1, 2, 3, if I type a dot out asterisk a asterisk c, no, I got that wrong. If I type a asterisk c asterisk, I scared myself a little bit. All those years I've been wrong. So it's not in the man page for C-args, obviously. And as August said, it's in the man page for bash. Let me just be a little bit gratuitous and let's actually look for that. I think it's pattern matching, is it? There it is, pattern matching. Again, there are certain similarities with regular expressions. It's definitely not regular expressions, and the question mark and the asterisk are definitely have a similar but different interpretation than regular expressions. So this is so silly as to not bear asking, but it's a little bit weird to get your head wrapped around it. What does a dot out see as far as the number of arguments? A dot here, let's skip arg v sub 0. When we look at this, we think a dot out sees 2 arguments, but a dot out doesn't see 2 arguments. A dot out sees however many this is, 6. Let's go back and think about what bash is actually doing. It's a program that someone wrote. It does a fork. So now there's the original parent bash, and then there's the identical copy child bash. And then it does an exec, which is to bring in from the file system the image of a dot out and overlay it over that child process. The call to exec is where you specify what the arguments are. So let me zoom in on this. Let me do a man on okay, so this is the actual system call. This would be this path, this would be a string containing a dot out. This is an array of arguments, including, incidentally, arg v sub 0. So what bash does is it sees that a asterisk, it interrogates the file system for, in this case, the current directory, and it uses the rules that we saw documented in the man page, which is basically 0 or more characters. So it looks for things in the file system that start with the letter A followed by 0 or more characters, and it finds several entries in that directory. And again, these are system calls to do that. You can use system calls to interrogate what are the entries inside of a directory, right? So that's all it's doing. It's looping through, looking at every entry and comparing, seeing which of these start with an A and then have 0 or more characters following them. It finds several, and for each one it finds, it builds up this array here. And then it does the same for the C, and then it ends up with the A.out plus the 6 other items that it's built into this array. Then it calls exec. All right? We can, there are fortunately some nice shortcuts for being able to see this information. It doesn't have to remain hidden as it appears here. First of all, let me look at the other situation, whereas what if the wildcard doesn't match anything, which I did by accident. If the wildcard doesn't match anything, then it doesn't do anything with these expressions, and it just passes in an asterisk A and an asterisk C in this case. Let me clear the screen, go back up to here. Again, I hit escape, I hit K to get my previous command. Now I'm using L to go over. I can be anywhere on this expression. And I hit an asterisk, meaning I hold down the shift key and I hit an A. I don't have to be on the I could be either on the C or on the asterisk. If this was a long string, I could be anywhere inside this string. That's the only point I'm trying to make. Okay? Anywhere inside this string. If I'm anywhere inside the string and I hit the asterisk character, it will expand it and show me what it's going to come up with. And then I can do the same with the A as well. What did I do here? I hit B for back, 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 back. Now I hit another asterisk, and it expands those. And then I can be anywhere on this line. I don't have to be at the end. Here's another mistake people make, is I can't hit enter until I get to the end of the line. No, you can be anywhere on this line. You hit enter, and it'll run it. Okay.
So they double the A out because A out was also an asterisk.
That's exactly right. A asterisk matches A.out. Yes. And I created and compiled it inside of the lots of files directory. Yeah. So that asterisk is a nice trick. A lot of times I'll be doing things like I want to edit. I remember that my program begins with an A, or the file I want to edit begins with an A. And I want to use tab completion, right? So I say vim AED and I hit tab and it'll complete for me. So I don't know if I said that before or whether or not you're aware of it. The reason I want to bring it up now is there is a time where it's ambiguous and I hit tab and it doesn't complete because there's more than one thing that begins with an A. If I hit 2 tabs, a second tab, it'll show me why it's not completing. It's showing me what's making it ambiguous, and it gives me enough visual information that I can now provide another character to just add it and then hit tab. All right? So more things to speed you up at the command line. And finally, the last thing I'd say is don't get hung up on the asterisk. This is for any of the valid pattern matching glyphs, I don't know what to call it, in the bash man page. So if I say ls, I can do a.out, and I want to do anything that is E or F, and then asterisk. So that's going to match 2. If I'm sitting here, I can go ahead and hit the asterisk, and it'll expand that. Okay? So it goes for all the pattern matching options there for bash. Asterisk just happens to be the one that we use the most frequently. All right. So with that in mind, what I want to do is I want to kick off a project with you. Oh, there's one other thing that will be useful for the project, actually. So let me all right, this will be in today's notes. Three different ways of structuring. There are more than three, but this is three popular ways of doing it. What I can do, so while read some var, this is a while loop that has a do and a done. The read command will read a value into the variable some var. Here what you can do is you can execute a command and pipe its output to this while loop. And then this just echoes it. I guess I should, let me actually try doing some of this. Let me go to here. Let me get rid of that one. All right, so I can say ls pipe into while read some var do echo printf some var equals %s new line the contents of the some var variable done. We have a version here where I can where if you think about this and I ask you, well, this loop is running this read command, what is it reading from? It's reading from standard in. So there's no reason why we can't take standard in and redirect standard in to read from a file instead of from the keyboard, right? So that's that version there. And then finally, there's this version here, which is actually, this is the most fascinating to me, is, let me see if I can, how do I can't remember how to do it offhand. I want to focus on this. This is a feature of the bash shell. This is obviously all stuff that's bash shell. This right here. Let me come up here. Okay. So you have a command or a set of commands. You got a pipeline going. If you surround it with parentheses, and at the very front end here, you have a less than and a parenthesis, this means execute that command or that pipeline or whatever it is, and make its output the name of a file. And then you can do whatever you want with the name of that file. So let me show that off. What do I mean by that? I can take, how do I want to do this? Cat, what do I want to say? ls, the current directory, and I want to pipe that into sort -r. We have options in ls to list things in reverse order, so this is a bit gratuitous, but it illustrates that I have a command here. And what it's doing is it's basically sorting in reverse order the contents of this directory. Okay. Now that will be the name of a file. I'll prove it. Let me do an ls and show you what the name of that file is. Now that file only exists as long as the command is running, right? It's not there for all time. Bash brings it into existence, basically takes all the output from this command and puts it into this file here, and then once the command's done running, it disappears. In fact, if you've taken my systems programming, or maybe perhaps if you've had OS, this is a FIFO, a named pipe, is what this is. Okay. Since it's a file name, just as I can redirect this file, I can redirect this file. And that's what this less than is here. It's the same as this less than for etc password. So it would be redirecting the contents of devfd63. So here's another version of that while loop that you can use as well.
So why do you need two of the lesser than?
Because they're different things.
One
This
turning into the
I would look at this right here
as a thing.
is a thing,
Okay.
right? And then the less than here is our standard redirecting standard in.
Okay.
All right. So I just wanted to, this is in loops.bash. It'll go with today's notes that I'll post as soon as I stop talking about the project for you to use. Yeah.
So you put, like, does the space in between the two? If you have two, you have like 5.
It should, you mean like this?
Yeah.
That should parse correctly. We can double check it. So let me say cat. So that version should work. Okay. Now let me get rid of the extra space. All right, it didn't work. So bash is wanting to have spaces to delineate the different constructs. And I guess now that we're discovering this, that makes sense because of things like if you don't have a space here, or you don't have a space here, or you don't have a space here, then bash craps out. So bash is kind of simplistic and stupid in that it really wants to parse things. What do I want to say? It wants to generate tokens based on spaces. Okay. So let's take a look at the project. I think I actually forgot to make it visible, so let me make it visible to you real quick. Okay, that should be visible. All right. So this project is based on a utility that I had to create for myself, and it has to do with Blackboard. So what happens is there is a grade book that obviously you all can see your grades in Blackboard. I get a spreadsheet version where I have all the students, and each column will have an assignment or a project or something like that where you submit, right? Basically this PO1, there's going to be a column in that spreadsheet titled PO1. And one of the things you can do is you can go to the head of that column, and you can bring a drop down, and there's assignment file download, and it brings you to a different page with a list of students, and you check a box to select all students, and then you hit submit, and it generates a zip file of all of the student work. And you have some options you can set. You generally only pick the most recent submission, so I don't get your 3 submissions, I just get the one that you most recently submitted. And then you download the zip file and you use that to grade. There's a problem with that though, and that problem is what inspired the project. So let me click on this zip file. Okay, where I said PO1 here, And for this particular example, I had said submit joust and had a space in there. So if I was to download all your work for this project, it would be PO1 and then an underscore. All right, so this first thing prior to this underscore is the name that I gave the assignment submission. By the way, I could have said P underscore 01, then it would have been P underscore 01, then there would be an underscore. All right, the next, and what I did, all this stuff here is an actual 111 set of downloads. What I did do is I went to some site that generates random names, and I went through and I replaced everyone's name and everyone's ID with the randomly generated name and ID. Okay, and I actually went into all the code to make sure any comments had it replaced as well. That's the only change I've made. Otherwise, this is exactly what I have received, and this is very typical. So it's a zip file, and I'm in Vim, so Vim is just expanding it and showing me what's in the zip file. Note that these are all just files that I get. So if I'm to unzip this, I end up with, I don't know, somewhere near 90 files. We can go ahead and do it. I don't see why not. Let me see. I created move cargs up to the parent. So that'll be in today's note. So I'm going to remove lots of files. I'm going to make the mess the Blackboard mess. CD into the Blackboard mess, and then I'll unzip downloads project1data.zip. And now I do an ls, and there are all my files. Okay. Following the name of the submission is the underscore. Next is the ID of the user, and then another underscore, and then the word attempt, and then another underscore, and then the year, month, day, hour, minute, second of the submission. Then another underscore, and then the name of the file that they actually submitted. Okay. What I want, or what I don't want, is I don't want this load of crap. This is unusable. There's no way I can do any grading. So I need a utility to put it in a form where I can grade it. So let me actually run the utility on this zip file so you can see ultimately what your script needs to do for this project. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to remove the Blackboard mess. And then I'm going to say extract assignments. It tells me what the name of the zip file is. Tells me it's moving files, and it gives me a couple status messages. They're coincidentally, I don't know, coincidentally isn't the right word. There's one dot for each user. Your output needs to look like this ultimately when you're done. So as you go through some master loop and you're going through each user, you're going to print a period as you process each user as kind of a status. Now I do an ls. You can see it created a project one data. It matches the name of the zip file minus the .zip. By the way, when you download it from Blackboard, it does not say something nice like this. It says something absolutely horrendous. It makes these look short. You know, it says Blackboard learn I am a happy camper and here's your file, and it's blah, and it's a whole bunch of crap and shit. And so you gotta the first thing you do is you rename it to something that you want it to be. Okay, so just throwing that out there. So I CD into project one data, and I've got a directory for each user. I go into one of these users, and they had submitted. Let me look at the original zip. This is Algeir up here at the top. They had submitted project4.tar.gz. So what I'd done is I had g-unzipped it. That's why this no longer has the .gz extension on the end of it. And then I extracted the tarball and got the contents here. Okay, so you need to do that with each user. It isn't that easy though, for a number of reasons. Or I should say, it is that easy, except 111 students are 111 students, and if they want to find a way for you to have to write a robust script, they will find it. Okay, what do I mean? The directions said that here's how you create a tarball, create this gzip tarball. Not everyone did that. If we come back to the submit link, as you all are aware, you can also say attach files, browse my computer, and you can attach individual files, right? Okay, that's what S. Hine did here. They submitted individual files. No, you just, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I'd just be an asshole to grade on that kind of stuff, right? I'll talk about the .text file in just a moment. All right. So you have to extract all this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Coming back to the submission, there are two things you can do. You can click on this, and you can put text here. You can also add comments here. Okay. For every single user who submitted something, there is this big, long prefix followed by, and note, if I look above, after this prefix, there's an underscore, even if I look down at that one where they're submitted individually, the preamble ends, there's the underscore, and then the name of the file. There are some here, one for each user, that doesn't have any underscore, it just has a .text. What that .text corresponds to is the Blackboard generated contents of these two fields. Most people don't write anything in those. And if you don't write anything, this is what it looks like. This is generated by Blackboard. It says there's no student submission text data for this assignment. There's no student comments for this assignment. Okay? For all those people, I don't want to see anything. Which means, let me get out of this. Note, there's no README here. I opened up that text file. I found those two strings. There's nothing to report out. I don't do anything. I just let that file go into the ether, right? However, there are a couple people who did do something, and I did need to capture their information. So let me see. I think this person maybe. Yeah. So they didn't in that write submission thing, they didn't enter anything here, but they did enter something in the comments down here. And that is right here. Couldn't get it to compile. I didn't plan enough time to code this. Blah, blah, blah. That's what they typed. Okay? So what you need to do is you need to intelligently go through these files, and if this has user typed stuff or this has user typed stuff, you need to build, whoops, hang on. Let me go into S. Hine. In this case, you would build a README because they did type something in. And if I look at the README, you don't just blindly copy in that file that I showed you. You extract the relevant comments. And that's what goes in the README. Now, if they had put something in both fields, then it'd look something like that. The README, right? Who else did? I think there's, in this particular gzip tarball, there's one other person. I think it's McCuffey. So I'm empathetic. And I'm not being flippant. I understand, but this will give you some sense of what it means to be an instructor. You're getting assignments 60 at a time, and you're seeing 2 to 5 of these every time. Okay, so next time when you consider writing, and please, I'm not being flippant. Seriously, I'm not being flippant. I'm not making fun of you, and I don't like this term. But when you write your sob story, keep in mind from our perspective that we're seeing 2 to 5 of these with every project submission in every single class, right? It becomes a little bit numbing in the same sense of, oh, I don't know, you're living in a war-torn country and you're seeing violence every day, right? You just become a little bit numb to it. So when you don't get a lot of sympathy from the instructor, it isn't that they don't care. It's that this is just coming at you all the time. So I just want you to be aware of that reality. All right? Okay. That obviously doesn't have anything to do with the deliverables. Yeah, though it would. I mean, so your challenge is to write a sob story that really jerks some tears out of me.
So what you're saying is that we've got to like come to you personally in war-torn country clothes, and, like, really go for it, like sell it.
That's right.
You should really sell it.
Although I mean, on a serious note, if you do want to have a higher likelihood of getting some sort of leniency or consideration or at least sympathy, the moment you have an issue, go to that instructor and look them in the eye and talk to them. The more, the writing ain't going to do it. All right.
So cut the office hours.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't delay. So the other thing that you get every semester is you get 2 or 3 people who come in week 13 and say, I haven't turned in anything, what can I do?
Take me next semester.
That's good.
All right. So you have that issue to deal with. There's another issue to deal with, which is, let me bring up that zip file again. Right here. What's wrong with this entry? They had a typo in their name. Gunzip isn't going to work.
Oh, yeah.
So on every single file you examine, maybe with the exception of these that just end in .txt, the Blackboard generated ones, on every single file that a user submits, you never, ever, ever trust the name of the file. You don't care about the name of the file. You care about what kind of file it is. And how do you find that information out? File. Yes, that command that we worked with. So you have to examine everything with file, and based on what that says, you do something. Okay. Another example, here's the other really common misnaming. So you get, let me go into, I'm already in here. So when they bundle up their file, they say something like tar, CVF. This is a big problem. What is, there's not a, oh yeah, make file. This is a bad command. What's wrong with it? What is the name of the tarball? Yeah, I could put a hyphen here. It's not mandatory to put the hyphen on tar. It's actually interesting. Tar is one of the earliest Unix commands, and in the early days of Unix, there hadn't been any standardization as far as options to commands. And so tar is an example of a set of options that didn't have a hyphen before it. And so for historical reasons, you can either put in the hyphen, or you can put in several hyphens. Or you can omit the hyphen altogether, and it'll be understood. And what does tar stand for? I'll give you an idea of the age of it. Tape archive. So this is where you take a bunch of files, you build a single file that is then streamed to tape. But it ends up being useful, right, to bundle things together in this day and age. It's the same as zip in that zip bundles everything together. It's different from zip in that what's built into zip is a compression algorithm, and tar does no compression unless you provide an option to do it, or as a separate step you take the tarball and you run gzip on it. All right? Okay. So C means create the archive. V means verbose. If you don't put the V, it operates silently. F means the very next argument is the name of the tarball. And so based on what we looked at a little bit earlier this morning, I can hover anywhere on here and hit asterisk, and it'll expand that. So this is what the shell is providing to the tar command. And so the name of this person's archive is joust.cpp. And it also means that they no longer have a joust.cpp. All right? So your script doesn't need to note that, oh, this should be a CPP file. Your script just needs to know that joust.cpp is a tarball and that you need to extract it. What will happen is then when I'm going in and grading, I'll very quickly, trying to compile it and run it, note that that's what happened, and then I'll send them an email or something like that. Okay? But you need, again, you look at the type of the file, not the name of the file, to determine what it is. If it is something like a CPP file, you don't do anything with it. If it's a zip or a gzip file type, you've got to unzip it or ungzip it. If it's a tarball, you need to extract it. There are generally two passes that you would do in your utility. You would go through all the files, and anything that is compressed you would uncompress, meaning gunzip or unzip, and then a second pass to look for any tarballs that you would then extract. Okay. Also, as an aside, this has been so common that in recent years when I teach tar now, I actually never even tell people about the F option. Anyone know what tar does if you don't provide an F option? Shall we see? It spits the entire archive to standard out. So what I do when I teach it now to prevent that kind of error is I say, they type all this stuff, and then they have to redirect and create. Rather than going to standard out, the archive's now redirected to this. That then prevents that overriding error that we get with the F option. Why did this stuff go to the screen? What command generated this? This is tar. The A means it's adding it to the archive. This is all going to standard error. Yeah. From the verbose command. If you are not verbose, then it just works silently. All right. Let's see, what else? Oh, there's a log file here. The log file will give you the IDs of people who have no archive, meaning there was nothing unzipped or gunzipped, and there was nothing, no tarball. So let me back up. If you unzip and it zips to a bunch of CPP files, that's fine. So it either you have to have at least one sort of unzipping or one sort of tarball extraction to avoid being listed in the log file of shame. Okay. In this case, the log file of shame isn't that bad. If I look at S. Hine, the reason was they had submitted all theirs individually, if you recall. So that's why there's no archive here. The other person, what is it? Let me cat it. Thank you. E-dates. LSE dates. Wait a minute. Why is it complaining? Let's look at it. File, project 4. You get these as well. You got to check the type of these things. Yeah, you can check the size, sure. Any way you want to do it. I gave you, whoops, for this assignment, there are 2 zip files. This is for when you're developing your script, this extract assignment script, that you have 2 different submissions to work with. The significance of this another project.zip is this project name has no spaces in it, but it does have an underscore in it. One of the reasons for me adding the second one is that you all come up with some sort of shell expression for being able to grab, basically being able to like remove this kind of stuff. But if you're counting underscores, that isn't quite what you need to do, since the submission itself may have an underscore in it. So this will make sure that you write robust enough code to handle both spaces and underscores in these names. And the user, of course, may have submitted something with an underscore in it. Otherwise, I think this archive is nearly identical to the other one. Yeah, you see you have the same user. So I just tweaked it up a little bit. All right, let's go to the write-up. Create the directory, extract the zip file in the directory, create a subdirectory for each user ID, copy and rename each user submitted file. We've got that. This is for any of if the user submitted comments or any of the written submission bit, you need to put that in a readme.txt file. Let me look again at that for just a moment. Let's say we want that one. I wanted the original. All right. The way you need to do this is you can use grep to see if this exists, and the other one you can use grep to see if the other one exists. So you know that whether or not there would be something in the submission field based on whether or not this text exists. If this text does exist, then the way you capture that is you start grabbing everything after the line that begins submission field and ending with the line that begins comments. You cannot do something like, if there's something there, always take line 7, because they're allowed to type paragraphs of stuff. So you can't do it based on line numbers, and you can also end up with more information up here. So line numbering doesn't work. When you grab this stuff, you have to use a technique for grabbing everything after submission field and everything before comments. Likewise here, everything after comments and everything before files. Okay, how you do that? Probably your best solution is going to be an awk script. You just need to look on the web for a recipe to do this. We will look at awk in detail a little bit further on. You don't need to, just like as we've all done on the web, you don't need to totally grok everything that you're using on the web. Just find the recipe that people have provided for awk to grab between two sets of lines and use it, integrate it into your script. Okay, I mentioned it needs 2 rounds. Log file if there's no tarball or zip file. Handle basic usage errors. So if you type the name of the script without anything, it's going to give you a usage. And if you type it with an archive that doesn't exist, then you just simply say it doesn't exist. So that's the modicum of error handling. Sample output, I've already run it for you. Here I'm printing it again, showing you what that looks like. And here I describe how the Blackboard formats its file names. This is all stuff that we've talked about. It's just in writing here for you. And I provide some usernames for things to look for that are odd with them. I got a gap here. I need to remove this gap. These 4 bullets are corresponding to the second one project. Excuse me. Another project.zip. These at the very end of this write-up, these 4 bullets are referring to another project.zip and the changes to it. All right. So this is a couple things then. This is definitely a big project. You will want to work on it for the balance of today. You probably want to do some work on it over the weekend. I will probably dedicate the entire day on Monday for you to work on it. Not sure about Tuesday yet. I think you're going to want to at least do some work over the weekend on it. I don't have, if you've had a course with me, I do like Piazza as a discussion forum. I've been getting a lot of emails from folks with questions, which is great. I prefer to have it in a discussion forum where everyone can see the questions and can therefore benefit from the answers. And also encourage you, if you see a question that has been unanswered and you know the answer, to please answer it. After I cut you loose while I'm sitting here, I will get that forum set up and a link set up to it. How do you go about developing this? Do not get in 111 mode. 111 mode is where I assign you a project, you write 300 lines of code. Okay, that isn't how you do it. First question, an early example of how it would be proper to deal with this is to take one of these names and put it in a variable and start playing with it. So let me see. Let me go. So I do this. What I'll do is I'll just like grab this. I'll call this head scratcher .bash. I'm going to paste that there. I'm going to say my var equals. And I got a bad one. Let me get a different one. Yeah, it doesn't. Here, I'll do this. I'll just say, I can remember. All right, I need to do some sort of echo where the only thing I want is project1.tar.gz. That's the goal. Okay. This is what you should be playing with, right? Now you're going to write 1, 2, or 3 lines of code here to strip this variable down until it is just the name portion of it. You want to do the same thing. You want to strip it down to get the user ID, right? So what I'm trying to get at here is you should not get out of this project without creating, say, at least a dozen tiny little test scripts to figure out how to do little tiny things. And then you kind of put them together as you get them figured out. Don't write the whole damn thing and press the button and hope for the best. That's 111 mode. Don't be a 111 student. I'm begging you. All right? Everyone got it? Okay. I've been talking a lot. I like to talk. I'm going to shut up now and let you get at it.